Art is a human cultural product. Art is also defined as a part of a cultural system. But why is that art? Art has to be handmade. We can see a visible effort. The details are mastered on the artwork. It shows virtuosity. It shows the artist's talent. It is subject to interpretation. It is visually impressive. Also, it looks for beauty. And it also aims at perfect composition. We can see it as a connection between the artist, the artwork, and the spectator. That it is called in art the Trinity. On this documentary, we are trying to prove an hypothesis. The hypothesis is that the art is not longer being criticized as the beginning. The contemporary art is being criticized as a different way, and the audience don't know how to do it. Over the years, there has been a misconception about what art is and how it should be. We can see two different point of views in the following two positions. One is from Lesper and the other one is from Terrazas.
According to Kitsa Terrazas, an African writer, producer, and director, in every kind of art, not everything needs to be understood. He tried to let us know about the lack of education all around the world. He thinks that people do not understand the real meaning of arts because it is just not communicating anything. Art allows us to keep on asking about justice, dignity, and it helps us to reinvent. He said that the artistic practices not always want to make us feel safe. Sometimes all we want is to shape discomfort, anxiety, and confusion. That is why we have to make questions to express life and not just canonical beauty. Nowadays, there is a desynchrony crisis. We are perceiving the time as something with no sense. We are just working in order to survive. This is changing our perception of everything. We perceive the simplest things as something very complex when it's not. This is called the illusion of complexity. We just have to feel the art. The contemplation opens another kind of aesthetical experience by interrupting the preludes. On the other hand, there is a woman who has a more realistic point of view about what art has become over the years. Avelina Lesper, a Mexican writer, historian, columnist, and critic of art. She's always writing articles of hyperrealistic art at her webpage and also in magazines. According to her, the process of art creation focuses on communicating something and creating sensitivity in the viewer. What is not art has no context. It is states in time, which doesn't need an explanation to be understood. For her, there is no contemporary art. She believes it is a style of doing something and she doesn't see it as something that evolves and transcends. If it cannot be understood, it simply is not art.
In order to understand the art, we have to define some concepts that will help us in order to understand the art and also to know what is and what is not art. The first concept that is presented in every artwork is the grand narratives. The grand narratives are strong conceptions that help us make sense of reality. They are legitimized through storytelling. In the end, they are transformed into knowledge. Another important concept is the aesthetics. The aesthetics is the knowledge of perceptible things through the senses. This is a set of principles concerned with the nature and the appreciation of beauty, especially in art. This might help us to understand and have a better perception of the artwork.
According to Arthur Danto, we must treat artworks as representations, not as an imitation. As representation, artworks possess aboutness, which means that they have to be about something. They convey meaning. Artworks embody their meaning when seen interpretatively, and the embodiment is to give a tangible or visible form to an idea in order to incarnate it or concretize. There is a world called the art world that is made up of museums, art critics, galleries, etc. They are in charge of creating the authoritative discourses to decide between what should be considered as art and what is not.
In order to have a better understanding on the artworks, you need to know what those aesthetics mean. Aesthetics is the perception through your senses. That will help you to have a better perception, and this might give you an aesthetic experience, which is an artistic idea based on grand narratives. This joins concept with the idea of the artwork. Contemporary art includes some artistic movements like the following. Pop art uses the irony and the desacralization to have a pop aura. In this artistic movement, cultural and artistic choices are affected by class, with education, occupation, income, age, ethnic origin, symbolical meaning, and, and the class status. At the same time, the artistic style known as kitsch was developed. And what is kitsch? Kitsch is something vulgar and popular, with great mass appeal, associated to low-brow cultures. Kitsch is the epitome of all that is spurious in the life of our time. It's here when pop art appropriated kitsch in an ironical attempt to elevate it to highbrow culture. It arises with Malevich and Kandinsky. Abstraction can be seen as a celebration of novelty, science's revolution, and technology. Or abstraction can be seen also as a metaphysical reaction against the mechanization of the world. Abstraction can be also seen as an emancipation from contempt by favoring the purity of forms. The abstract object rejects the overwhelming languages or Western obsessions. The Western obsessions are the mimesis and reason. We refer to mimesis as a copy or imitation of reality. In abstraction, we have different styles. One style is the geometric abstraction, that is based on basic compositions, form, and color. Here, the metaphysical artist constructs the world in terms of geometry. The square is the art's new face. The movement of suprematism was that the art may liberate people from materialistic constraints by covering a world of non-material sensations. Another abstraction style is the organic abstraction, based on form, soft, and curved lines. Kandinsky says that the universe's essence is in constant flux. Kandinsky's art is an aesthetic, which means visual forms are based on music. He recommended artists to be led by their inner impulses, in pursuit of an harmonious abstraction language. The difference between geometric abstraction and organic abstraction is that the last one trusts in movements and dynamic compositions. Kandinsky also says that the circle is the synthesis of the greatest composition. It combines the concentric and the eccentric in a single form and in equilibrium. Of the primary forms, it points most clearly to the fourth dimension. We have some other abstraction styles, like the contemporary abstraction, that is, other way to create art. In the 40s, we have another style that is called the abstract expressionism. In the 70s, we have the minimalism art. In the 80s, we have an hybrid abstraction. The abstract expression consists in action painting or gesture painting. It reveals the making process. There are traces of the artist's physical intervention. It's to be captured by the painting. These styles give rise to a neo-formalist theory that says that the elimination of content in abstract painting was perceived as the ultimate sign of evolution. Look at this abstraction gallery and think, what does these artworks make you feel? In abstract art, it's important to not confuse semantics with semiology.
Conceptual art, the early 20s to 60s. Artworks that matter due to their concept, not their formal properties. Art is based on a diversity of expressions, diversity of media, diversity of processes. Painting is no longer the privileged language.
Contemporary art represents an ambiguous border between common objects and works of art. On this movement, art has trespassed the border. Common items enter museums and galleries. Normally, we don't question the meaning of ordinary objects. We do question the meaning of works of art, although they look like ordinary objects. Here objects have a pragmatic nature, art has a semantic nature. We went to Ibis Klein and Joshua Cohn art expositions at MUAC, and after that we made an interview to some people in order to prove our hypothesis. That was if people know what is art and how they know what is art and what is not.
Estamos aquí con Rodolfo y le vamos a hacer algunas preguntas. Rodolfo, ¿para ti qué es el arte?
¿Qué es el arte? Esa es la pregunta que varias personas pues piensan y no saben contestar, pero hablando técnicamente, es cualquier objeto creado por el ser humano que su fin es la belleza, ¿me entiendes? Es la comunicación en las cuales se expresan emociones, ideas y una visión general del mundo, y así te puedes seguir las obras, pero para mí eso es el arte.
Ya que visitaste el Museo MUAC, ¿a qué exposición entraste y qué te pareció? ¿Para ti eso es arte o no?
Para mí eso sí es arte. Fui a la exposición de Joshua Ocon y me gustó mucho esa obra donde sale el logo de McDonald's y un gordo sentado en una mesa, ¿sabes? Eso me quedé perplejo. Te voy a decir por qué. Porque eso expresa el consumismo de la empresa y cómo te da a demostrar que la empresa lo único que hace es eso, vender su marca, pero no sabe las consecuencias que le causa al ser humano.
Ok, ¿y bajo qué criterios te basas para decir que esto es arte?
Yo creo que es algo original de este artista. O sea, yo no hubiera pensado en poner un gordo en una mesa y decir McDonald's es eso, porque eso es lo que quiere dar a entender. McDonald's es eso, obesidad. Por eso para mí es algo original, es algo que es arte, arte puro.
Ok, muchas gracias.
Nos encontramos en el Museo MUAC, donde están exponiendo dos artistas, Ibis Klein y Joshua Ocon. Nos encontramos con Rocío y ella nos va a hacer favor de explicarnos para ella qué es el arte.
Para mí, yo creo que el arte es una forma de comunicación que refleja lo que está viviendo, ya sea el artista en una época o lo que quiere comunicar.
¿Y cómo, de acuerdo a tu criterio, cómo evaluarías qué es arte y qué no?
Pues yo creo que el contexto es el que define si es arte o no. Por ejemplo, ahorita acabo de entrar a la de Ibis Klein y bueno, había checado que por ejemplo la Venus, o sea, si no está como en una base o por ejemplo el material del que está hecho es yeso, a fuerzas tiene que ser conservada en interiores, entonces eso es como lo que define dónde debe ser ubicada.
O sea, ¿crees que si tú no sabes el contexto no entenderías?
Pues es que hay diferentes tipos de arte, pero por ejemplo yo creo que sí necesitas como datos. Había leído que Ibis Klein había dejado una serie de diarios para que la gente pudiera entenderlo. Sin embargo, en otros tipos de arte, pues es solo como la técnica o son otras cosas más importantes. Yo creo que varía.
Muchas gracias, Rocío.
No, ustedes.
Estamos aquí con César y le vamos a realizar algunas preguntas. Para ti, César, ¿qué es el arte?
Un sentimiento expresado a través de una pintura.
Ok. Y ya que visitaste el MUAC, ¿a qué exposiciones entraste?
Como solo puedo decir el perro.
Ah,
El perro.
De Joshua Ocon. Ok. ¿Y para ti eso es arte?
Sí, porque expresan sus costumbres o expresan algo a través de eso.
Ok, César, muchas gracias. Estamos aquí con Suri y le vamos a realizar unas preguntas. Suri, para ti, ¿qué es el arte?
Bueno, el arte para mí es algunos autores que expresan sus sentimientos a través ya sea de algunas bellas artes, ¿no? Como es la música, la pintura, en este caso fue la pintura.
Pues es que no sé. Ah, sí, bueno, entonces.
Bueno, otras cosas como danza,
After these interviews, we can conclude that not every people that visit the museum knows what they are looking at. Also, they don't know what is art. That's why that people that visit the museums don't know what they are looking at. They just go to the museums and they don't know what the artist is trying to represent or to express. People just go because of the fashion, or they just go because someone is telling them to go to the museum. They even know where does a museum is. The museum is made to preserve the art and to have a control of it. Since sensitiveness is a human faculty, it must be a natural for men to appreciate art. We believe that it is a fallacy. It is a false argument. We believe that it depends on the social class of the person that is trying to appreciate the art, or it also depends on the art education. In art, there is a question of social classes, the low versus the upper class, and the question is, who is supposed to best appreciate the art? The truth is that capitalism reinforces classism, and art is considered an exceptional activity aimed to exceptional people and made by exceptional. So this means that the art is made for upper classes. This is another statement that we think that it has to be false because it all depends on the art education. We have to have an art education in order to understand the artworks and also to can give a definition to the artworks to know what does the artist is trying to express. Remember that not all the people are capable of appreciating the artistic nature of artworks. The ordinary man can only say I like it and I dislike it. But remember that you have to say why you like it and why you dislike it.